Hello, and welcome to Cherokee Stories. I'm Phil Bange, and let's get started. We're going to take a look at a book by Professor Chris Tueton. He's a professor at the American Indian Studies at University of Washington, and he's written this book along with Hastings Shade, Sammy Still, Sequoia Guess, and Woody Hanson. It's a beautiful book with illustrations by America Meredith. And what caught my attention in our author's words is his comments about community. And I want to get into that. And, what I've learned in my own experience is when creating community, we have events and gatherings that we schedule, and if we just throw out a flyer or an announcement over the internet or on a posting in a hallway, how many people are going to show up unless it's an activity that people just regularly show up to on a regular basis? The answer is almost no one. And it's kind of like sales. We have a warm market and a cold market. And so you got to do the footwork, and we go and shake hands and we get to know each other on a personal basis. It's word of mouth and positive comments that bring people together for different events in a community. It's not going to be just a flyer. It's going to be people that hang out together on a regular basis. And I've done some work in our Cherokee community of Puget Sound, and I've visited with the Portland community, Mount Hood Cherokees, and then there's other communities. There's communities inside of greater communities. Seattle Urban Native community is something I've been involved in, a community I've been involved in for almost 30 years. So. And that's what I've seen is when we're doing things together and we develop these good friendships, people ask, hey, what are you doing this Saturday? Well, I'm going to this event. Yeah, you want to go? And then more people go, and it's word of mouth. Look at all the rallies that have 50 plus people there. A lot of them are all friends, and you see a lot of the same faces at the rallies, and they're all friends. They're all hanging out, doing stuff together. And so this has been on my mind a lot, how to build community. Puget Sound or Seattle area Cherokee community means a lot to me. And so I'm going to start with Professor Teuton's book and talk about his book in his own words. I'm going to read the first chapter. So let's get started. The name of his book, Cherokee Stories of the Turtle Island Liars Club. Excuse me. Introduction. Opening the door. On a chilly autumn evening, we gather at the Cherokee Heritage Center in Park Hill, just outside of Tahlequah in northeastern Oklahoma. And if you've ever been to Tahlequah, you know where this is. This is a place that you got to go to. If you're ever in Tahlequah, you got to stop in here. And you stop at Tahlequah, the traditional village. There's a council house. There's traditional dwellings that we lived in. I should know the name of these, but I don't. You always enter in going counterclockwise. So as you walk in, you're already walking around in a circle around the fire. It's just the way it's constructed. Everything's connected. You can't separate things. Philosophy, spirituality, functionality, everything is all connected, and so here you are walking into the council house, and you're already walking counterclockwise to the fire. So continuing on here. I'm meeting with Hastings Shade, Sammy Still, Sequoia Guess, and Woody Hansen, a group of Cherokee storytellers who can tell themselves the Turtle Island Liars, call themselves the Turtle Island Liars Club. The Turtle Islands Liars Club is an institution. Its members have performed together for nearly 20 years, and we are known throughout Cherokee country and nationally for their mastery of Cherokee, oral performance, and traditional teachings. The club and I are collaborating on the first collection of Western Cherokee storytelling published in over 40 years. The core of the book is the stories themselves, traditional and contemporary Cherokee narratives rarely if ever seen in print. Not simply a compilation, Cherokee Stories of the Turtle Islands Liars Club represents an evolving conversation with the Liars Club concerning their understanding of Cherokee storytelling, or Gagoga, literally he, she is lying, pronounced Ga-go-ga, or Gagoga. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, probably butchering it. As it is known in the Cherokee language, it explores how the members of the club conceive the power and purpose of Cherokee storytelling and how stories articulate Cherokee tradition. The teachings that, say the storytellers, are fundamental to a construction of Cherokee selfhood and cultural belonging. Cherokee Stories of the Turtle Island Liars Club represents the stories and teachings of the 4 core members of the Liars Club. Before his passing in February 2010, Hastings Shade was the senior elder of the group. The former deputy chief of the Cherokee Nation, Shade was an honored elder, cultural traditionalist, and storyteller who brought the Liars Club together and led it with his knowledge and wisdom. In 1991, Chief Wilma Mankiller of the Cherokee Nation declared Shade a Cherokee national treasure for his traditional knowledge. Sammy Still is a well-known traditional craftsman, noted photographer, and journalist. He is a citizen of the United Kituwa Band of Cherokee Indians and is editor of the Kituwa News tribal newspaper. Sequoia Guess, also a member of the United Kituwa Band, is a renowned storyteller, novelist, filmmaker, and Cherokee language teacher. Like Shade and Still, he speaks, reads, and writes Cherokee. In 2002 and 2005, Guess was nominated as a living treasure by the Cherokee Heritage Museum and the Cherokee Nation. Woody Hansen has worked for many years as a community health and wellness advocate for the Cherokee Nation, of which he is a citizen. Hansen is a sought-after storyteller, snake handler, and reptile safety educator. I am both a citizen of the Cherokee Nation and a Native American literary and cultural studies scholar. Over the past several years, I have worked with the Cherokee Nation on research projects, including a study of Cherokee Nation reading practices and the development of a Cherokee K-12 education curriculum for use in northeastern Oklahoma public schools. For me, Cherokee Stories of the Turtle Island Liars Club represents a coming together of the concerns of my published work as a scholar and my personal journey home to learn from my elders. The Turtle Island Liars Club has no bylaws, constitution, or organizational leadership, no badges, no certificates. You cannot send away to become a member. In fact, their use of the word club to describe themselves is a fine example of Cherokee dry humor, razor sharp and subtle, a way for this group of a dozen or so Cherokee traditionalists, storytellers, and craftspeople, kin and friends alike, to thumb their noses at a mainstream society that has to bureaucratize in order to create community. At the same time, there is a sometimes sincere in the use of club. There is something sincere in the use of club, as it reflects a need to actively engage like-minded folks interested in furthering Cherokee community, celebrating traditional culture, and passing it along to future generations. So there you go. That's what I was talking about with community. It's like your warm market, and obviously they're not trying to make it sound like they're marketing, and you can't really market this. It's warm market is just a term I heard in marketing, and it's true. You have the people that are your close friends, and if we want to create a stronger Cherokee community in our satellite areas, we want to build on friendships, and sometimes it's finding those activities that sometimes might not be Cherokee, but for instance, I hang out with some friends that are into Sasquatch, which turns out to be very culturally relevant to this area. But it's I don't think of it as a Cherokee tradition. However, it's a native tradition out here to tell stories, and there's dances that involve Sasquatch, and there's all sorts of different names for Sasquatch, tribal or different languages out here that have names for Sasquatch. And so I see a lot of natives that are into the research or into hearing stories about Sasquatch out here, and that creates community. There's people talk about it as a Sasquatch community, and some of the friends that I go out in the woods looking for Sasquatch. When I go out, oftentimes several of the guys that I go with are native. And so that's what I like these words about community. So page 3 here, and moving on, I'll move to the next paragraph. A better term for the Turtle Island Liars Club would be Skadug, and sorry about not pronouncing words correctly. As Hastings Shade explained to me, Skadug is a county, state, or community. That's what that means. Skadug is when they Skaduga dadat lesu. That's when the whole as a community come together. It is a traditional practice of Cherokee community to come together to help one another, and especially those in need. In Shade's words, our teachings have always been, if you see somebody that needs something, help them. Like any Skadug, the Liars Club has its own ideas of membership and belonging, but at first I did not understand that. So I think I've also heard this called Gadugi. So next paragraph. Initially, I thought the club revolved around its stories and teachings. I did not see it was really about people. But during my years of recording and learning the stories, I was taught that the Turtle Island Liars Club, as a Skadug, depends on relationships. Those between families, between generations, between friends, and between Cherokee communities and other cultures. The stories, teachings, and crafts are a means of keeping the Skadug strong and of sharing Cherokee culture with others in the hope that the knowledge will continue. Hastings Shade explained that a core Cherokee value that the Liars Club embraces is the idea of sharing knowledge, and Sequoia guests agreed. It's not about us, the storytellers. It's about everybody else. We're here to share what we've got. The club in its deepest sense includes listeners as well as speakers, younger folks as well as elders, traditional craftspeople alongside traditional storytellers. This book focuses on 4 male storytellers, but club members are quick to point out the crucial and continuing influence of female elders, storytellers, and members of the Liars Club. All members have something to teach and something to learn. This is the Cherokee way.